this is Sunniva.
And this is Johannes.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Frostpunk, the board game. This is going to be a first impressions of this game that is from Glass Cannon Unplugged, designed by Adam Kopitsky.
It plays from 1 to 4 players in about 120 minutes or 2 hours.
At least according to the box.
Yeah.
If you lose, it may take 2 hours.
Yes, that's
okay,
true.
So let's talk about this game. It's going to be a first impressions game. This is Frostpunk, the board game based on Frostpunk, the video game, which doesn't have like an undertitle like that. In Frostpunk, you are some of the last survivors of Earth. A endless winter, basically, not a board game, came and everybody almost died. No warmth, and you are on an expedition. You end up long way away from home, and you build New London around this generator that they started to build but never basically got completely finished. But you are using it, and hopefully it doesn't explode and everybody dies. And this is a game, it's a cooperative game where you're gonna die. And there's so many ways to die.
Yes.
And you are gonna die either by dying, or dying
Yeah.
in horrible ways. This is a cooperative game which has an 18-year-old age restriction because it's a horrible game. It's a game where everything is bad.
Yeah.
Whatever happens is going to be bad. There's if something good happened, there was one time something good happened, so we get
What?
stuff? What is this? I don't understand what's happening now. Most of the time, whatever you do is choosing between two horrible things.
Yes.
And the horrible thing is going to be horrible, and the other horrible thing is probably going to be way more horrible than the other horrible thing, but you don't know that before you do the choice.
If there is a good option to choose at any time, something will come back and haunt you later.
So gameplay-wise, this is a worker placement game. It's not only a worker placement game. You have many different phases to go through each round. You're trying to survive, and you're trying to make the best life for your people, sending them to work, having places where they live so they don't get sick, get food for them so they don't die of hunger. You need to have hope, not too much discontent, because if you have too much discontent, then you're going to lose. If you have no hope, you're going to lose. And there's going to be storms, there's going to be weather, there's going to be all of these things. You have the generator that you're trying to heat up, the houses, heating up the places where they work, because if they go out and they work where it's cold, they're going to get sick. And there's just so much stuff working against you. But that's basically a super quick overview about what you do. Let's talk about the other stuff.
Yes, the game looks very good.
It does.
It is a very, very, very big game on the table, but it has a lot of table presence. And I think that it is very, what do you call it? It is a nice scenery to look at. It's very it sets the tone of the game that it is.
But this is a big game.
It's a big game.
We have the biggest Geek and Sound table, and we can fit it on a table. It doesn't use the whole length, but it uses the whole width of the table.
Yeah.
If you set it up the way it is in the rulebook, and if you set it up the way it's supposed to be set up in the rulebook, then you cannot play this game seated.
Yes.
You have to stand up while playing this game.
That one got sick.
And you even when we change it up and moved a lot of things and used more of the width, or more of the length of the table, then we also had to stand up to move some pieces because it's just so large.
So big.
There's a tile in the middle where the generator is gonna stand, and that tile is this big.
Yeah.
This is one tile. And not the other tiles are smaller, of course, but the other tiles are kind of this big. I have a tile. And so it's going to take so much space.
Yes.
Let's see if I can get a tile. I cannot. I can get a tile. Boom. Doesn't
It's
look
gonna be
doesn't
two
look big.
layers out
But
of
it's
there,
gonna be,
and then a
two
ring.
layers.
Yeah.
And then
so
you
it's
have
very big.
all of these boards that you place around. You're going to see on the pictures. It's just so much stuff going on the table, and it's really hard to understand, or not to understand, but to have it all. You need a big space. Basically, what I'm going to say. Go to the next point.
There is a component in this game that is the reactor.
Yeah.
It's supposed to stand in the middle of the board, but it kept blocking the view for us, so we just moved it to the side. But it is a dice or a cube tower, and it works very, very good for a cube tower. It is a big part of the game, so it's very crucial that this component works
and
it
does.
Cubes. Yes.
One of the best cube towers, one of the worst components.
Yeah,
if anyone plays with this in the middle of the table, they just do it because.
Yeah.
Because the first building that you get at the beginning of the game is placed right behind this thing.
Yeah.
So if I place that there, there's no way for me to know it's there. And everything, it's so big. So everything, I have a problem when you place a pile of tiles and you don't see the symbol behind it. Now you basically are hiding half of the components. And you're like, great, this is a great way to play a game. It's super hard to play and I don't know anything else. I just had to guess.
I think you should talk a little bit about the insert because you were not happy with that.
What insert? There's some plastic and there's some rooms in there. Like, this is not a good insert. The insert of the base box, like half of the box is the tower, and that makes sense because it's big. And then there's like these spaces for cards, and if you don't sleeve your cards, you need like half of them, and then you have all of these rooms for cards, which are not very well used for anything else. But if you sleeve your cards, that means that 80% of the box is the cards and the tower. Where should everything else go? There's these gross, there's these like huge things like this. I was gonna think, okay, it's gonna be horrible. I'm gonna take all the building tiles, which is a lot of different ones, and just put them in a Ziploc bag and put it in the box. That doesn't work. There's no space for that Ziploc bag. So what you have to do when you play this, if you don't just throw away the insert, which is what you should do, probably, and just use Ziploc bags, is that you have to take all this and just drop them randomly into these very large ones. So when we're gonna play again, I have to kind of use a shovel and get out the buildings, and I have to start sorting them. So there's like no way to put everything in there. I had to go to BDG and say like, oh, is there any way to puzzle it together? And it is, and it's not good. So not a fan of the insert, but that's okay. There's also miniatures expansion which I saw it on the shop in Norway. It's extremely expensive. I don't remember how much I paid for it on Kickstarter or GameFound. I don't remember, but they're nice. They look nice. You'll see them in pictures. Do you need them? No.
No, you don't need them at all. But it looks really nice. It adds to like the theme of the game.
If you have them, use them. If you don't have it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Like it's nice, but it adds to the playtime because you have to be like, oh, which building is this? And it takes a while in the beginning, but they luckily have the name of the building on the bottom. Or else I would have not used them because when I started, I was like, before I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna use. I don't know what building this is. And you had to like look at the building tile and find what looks the most like it. But luckily there's a way to do that. So the miniature expansion, don't buy it if you don't already have it.
Yeah, the rulebook. The game has a rulebook and you have read it.
It looks like this. It is about 40 pages long and it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good rulebook. I will say that most of it is pretty good. Most of it is pretty easy to understand. There was a couple of things where we had to like wrap our mind around it. The thing I don't like, which I don't understand. First of all, why not add another page so you can have like some references, some easy to forget rules, all of that, because there are easy to forget rules and there are small things. There should be an FAQ on the back in these bigger rule books. And the other thing a big rule book like this should have is an index. So when I want to know something about cold, I'm going to go to the index, see cold, that's on those pages, go to that page and I will have to find it instead of doing this and finding the right thing. And that, like, if your rule book is 40 pages long, it should have an index. Yes. There's no excuse not to have it. The other thing there's no excuse not to have, what is that?
Player.
Do they have it?
Yes, they do, and we're very happy about that. It is a fairly large sheet, and it has all of the buildings specified on it, and how the actions work. What I also really like is the little card with all the phases that you're going through in a round, which it really comes in handy that we're using every single round.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff.
It's so much stuff.
Much of the game is basically kind of upkeep.
Yes.
So you need to have that to know, like, okay, now we're going to draw the card, we're going to see what happens on, then we're going to go to here.
Those guys.
And we're going to do all these other things.
We're going to lose. That's also a point on
Have we played the game? How many have we played with, and did it take time?
We have played only the two of us. We played it 2 times. The first time took 3.5 hours, and the second time took 2.5 hours.
Yes, 3.5 hours were the first 50 minutes. We didn't do anything because we
just
read
like
rules
contemplating like how
because
does
there's so
the game
much
work?
stuff to put into your brain.
Yeah, so 2.5 hours each time, but that is because we lost.
Yeah.
So if
remember not to spoil anything about the scenario.
If we were to survive, it would have taken longer time. We don't know how much, but it's a long game.
I would guess it would take like at least 1 hour more.
Yeah.
Probably 90 minutes or even 2 hours more.
Yes.
Which means it's going to be like a 4-hour game probably.
Yeah.
And that's long.
That's long. It says 2 hours on the box, but I don't see us playing the first scenario in 2 hours.
No, and we're going to talk a bit more about the length after we talked about all the other stuff.
Yes.
So this game is kind of like a worker placement game. As I said, there's many other things you do as well, but the core mechanism is taking workers and placing them to do different actions. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think that is an interesting. I think it works very well. First of all, you have different workers, and on top of that, the different kind of actions are either hot or cold, and that
or
depends.
Heated,
yes, heated or cold. And heated action makes your people not be sick. That is good, but sometimes you don't have enough coal to power the generator to make heated actions for everyone, and that goes on to be harder and harder throughout the game.
Yeah.
But I think that is a cool balance with the worker placement.
Yeah, and I like that, the mechanism of heating the generator, where you use coal to heat it up so that different buildings have different
like levels of insulation.
Yes. And also different, like the distance from the generator.
Yeah.
So those are two things. Like it's easier to heat a red building than a yellow building, and it's easier to heat something that's closer to the generator than farther away. So when you build your buildings, you have to kind of think about where you place stuff depending on how much you're going to use it and how you want to or how important it is to heat it up.
Yes.
So I think that like the heated and cool, which also you kind of have in the video game. We have played the video game like a little bit. I played like a bit more than you. You played a bit with me.
Yeah, I don't like those kind of games.
But you did enjoy watching me playing it.
Yes, I did.
So like,
That was fun.
That was very fun because someone was like, oh, I don't want to play this game, and
it's boring.
I continued playing, and I was like, oh, we have to do that, and now we do that and that and that.
That
so
sounds
you
like me.
really had a lot of fun not playing the game.
Yes.
So the worker placement is interesting, the heated and the cold. Then we also have the resource management, because as in most of these games, which is hard and horrible, you never have what you need.
No, you always are short on resources, and when you explore the map, you find different resources on different places, and you can find a little bunch of resources and a large, and you have to be like, okay, when you have like depleted this location to find, for example, coal, we desperately need to find a new place to get coal. And also how you spend your resources is very crucial in this game. You have to at all times prioritize the most important thing, and that can be very hard sometimes. So you're always short on resources, basically.
And also this is a game which what you build is very important.
Yeah.
And when you build it is important, as you said, and you won't know that the first time you play. And you probably won't know that the second time you play or the third time you play if you don't like analyze everything. This is a game you can basically sit down and you can kind of analyze the first few rounds. The thing is that things will happen. So, suddenly now this didn't work, or now you lost that, or you lose the resources you needed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing, that you can't kind of solve the game.
Yes.
But there are going to be there's many different scenarios, so there's probably going to be different in that way. But I think like there is probably going to be like, it's obvious that we're going to do this in the beginning.
Yes.
For example, there is a building called the what is it called? It's called the Gathering Post, which you can get resources from every space on tiles adjacent to it.
Yeah.
So if you place a worker on somewhere, you're going to get 2 resources. But if you build that and there's like 8 resource spaces around it, and you put the worker there, it's going to get 8 resources in one,
which
is
lot
better than 2. So there's one more step. You need to spend wood to build that. So you're going to use a build for that. But that is like a building. I don't think for example, in the scenario played now, I don't think you can play without building that building, because you need resources all the time.
Yeah.
And you need more and more of them to be able to do what you want. And you will never be able to do what you want because it's a hard game.
Yeah, a lot of this game is just really reacting to all the horrible stuff that happens. Every round you're going to like draw a new event, a thing that happens.
More of them, like many of them.
A lot of stuff will happen, and most of them are negative. And it's all about seeing, okay, where are we at now? Can we afford to spend resources on this matter right now, or should we like postpone it and hope that it doesn't come back to haunt us? But everything in this game is essentially bad.
It's bad or bad. Yeah. Like those are the two.
Yeah. Sometimes it is worse, and it's a lot of ways to lose. So you have to keep track on a lot of stuff. Like the one time we almost died because we forgot that the reactor could actually overheat.
Oh yeah.
So it
has to overheat 2 times, so we went really close to
absolutely. But we were at all times in the beginning, but like, that is the thing that okay, we have to remember this as well. So there's a lot to keep track of.
A little bit back to the events that you talked about, which I think is a really good thing, is that you're going to have like a morning card that you draw, and something's going to happen. And then depending on what you do, you might add like a dusk card to the deck. So you could kind of like, for example, you said like you could, I'm going to handle this now and I'll lose some stuff, and you get to discard a card without adding anything. Or you can say, I don't have time for that, and you add it in so something bad will happen later. Yeah. And I really enjoy that. But it's kind of like you kind of can, after a little while, understand, okay, because we choose this, that kind of thing is going to happen. Yes. And I really like that. It's kind of like it's not in it doesn't feel random in that way.
Yeah.
The morning card is random because you just draw it, but then the choice you make is gonna come back to you later. Yeah. So the choices you make are important for the game that you are gonna play.
It is a very difficult game.
It is.
It is very hard to survive, and the thing that is a kind of a hurdle for me is because of the length and the setup. It's very likely that you're going to die, and then it feels very much of a hassle and a work to then, okay, we lost, let's tuck it all away and play something in between, and then open it up later, and then invest all this time and probably lose again.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it might be a little scripted, maybe, if you're playing the same scenario, and then, okay, now we get the hang of it. We're going to build this the first time, this the second round, and then going through all of the motions for this very long, difficult game. This is a hard one to get to the table because of that.
That's true. We'll talk more about what I feel about it soon, but first let's see who it might be for. And the weight, I feel like it's kind of a medium plus game. It's a lot of rules, it's a lot of things to remember, there's a lot of different phases. Most of the phases are automatic, you're just going to do what they say.
I think maybe this is a heavy game.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
that.
Because it's a very
game.
difficult game to play well at as well. So you have that layer on top of all of the rules and things to remember.
Like if you are new to co-op games, this is not one to dive into.
Yes.
I feel like this is going to be mostly for a very specific group of people. Either a group that just loves playing this very hard, punishing co-op games and trying again, analyzing. And if you are a solo player, even better, because it takes less time to play. Yes. You don't have that. Don't have like 4 players. I would never play it with 4 players. And if you have an extra table, even better. So you can just have it set up and you can do other stuff like eat and play other games, and then you can come back and play it again. I think that is kind of like the best niche for this game. I'm or like couples like us. I think it's a good couple game as well if you are into heavier co-op games. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
So you want to do some final thoughts, like kind of final first impressions?
Final first impressions is that this is a good implementation of the video game that we played, like touched briefly into. I think that it really captures the essence of the struggles there and the opportunities that you have. I really like that. I think that it's a nice mix between strategy and planning, like this pure calculation, and also the randomness in the events. They're not like it's brutal, but it's not like far-fetched, like unlucky, for example. I think that for me, this is a game that I would not see us play that often because of the length and difficultness of this game. I would rather think that, for example, Spirit Island is a little bit more my level of co-op length and heaviness that I want to go for. But for what it's trying to be, I think that if you think that this is appealing to you, you would love it. But that it is having a hard time.
I think it's a good game. And if you know me, you know that I'm not a huge co-op fan. I think it's a great game. I have fun while I play it. I enjoy discussing with you. I enjoy doing these things. The setup and the length and all of that is kind of like the big negatives. And it is kind of on the edge. When we sat down, after we played the first time, we sat down to play the video game. I was like, oh, why do I not just play the video game? But then we played the board game again. I was like, okay, it's different enough. It's another beast. Like, it's not the same. You don't do the same things.
Yeah.
You do the same kind of things, but it feels like a very different thing. But I just feel like you said we're not gonna play this too much because it's so long and so much stuff. But it's a good game, and I like it as a co-op game.
Absolutely.
So it's I have a lot of fun about playing it, but I don't know when I'm gonna play it. So it's kind of like, for me, I kind of want to have it because I like the idea of playing it, but I don't know if it will ever happen. That's kind of like the end of the final thoughts for me. So I think that is the end of this first impressions video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have, let us know what you think about the game in the comments. And if you are new here or if you haven't subscribed yet, can you explain how that works?
Yes, it's very simple. It is a button below the video on the YouTube page that says subscribe. If it already says subscribe, don't click it. That means that you have subscribed already. There's also a bell you can click to get notifications every time we post a new video.
That's cool.
And if you click subscribe, we will be very happy. And it's also free. If you want to do something that's not free, you can.
Go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and support the channel. That would be amazing.
Yes.
And that is the end. Hope to see you soon. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunniva.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.